European markets eye historic rally after US President Donald Trump posed tariffs for nations that did not retaliate, excluding China. The European Union has posed its retaliatory tariffs against the US to give negotiations a chance with the Trump administration.
Russia launched 145 drones on Ukraine in overnight attacks, injuring at least 10 people in Mykolaiv.
European markets staged a historic rally in early morning trading on Thursday, tracking Wall Street's euphoric surge after US President Donald Trump unexpectedly announced a 90-day pause on tariffs. The Euro Stoxx 50, which tracks blue-chip companies across the Eurozone, jumped up to nearly 5,000 points on pace for its strongest session since March 2020. National indices across the continent saw similarly powerful gains, with Germany, Europe's biggest economy, seeing its DAX rallying to 8.5%. Asian markets also soared, with Japan's benchmark jumping more than 9%. Trump on Wednesday said the 90-day pause in the tariffs was for countries that have not retaliated against Washington's trade measures, excluding China. U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports were instead raised to 125% in response to Beijing's recent retaliatory tariffs. Analysts have warned that Trump's tariffs could disrupt global trade and the economy, something that could likely trigger a recession at home in the U.S. The European Union has temporarily paused its counter-tariffs against the United States to further pursue talks with Donald Trump's administration on how to resolve what was shaping up to be an all-out trade war. According to the President of the EU Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the suspension will remain in place for at least 90 days. The counter-tariffs imposed in reaction to Trump's duties on steel and aluminium were approved on Wednesday by member states, targeting almost 21 billion euros in American products. The first draft, worth 3.9 billion euros, was scheduled to go into effect on the 15th of April before the change. The EU bloc had initially been hit by a 20% rate under Trump's sweeping tariffs, shocking Brussels and other capitals. The EU Commission, which has exclusive competence to determine the commercial policy for the 27-member bloc, has been trying to figure out how to respond to Washington's trade tariffs.
Russia launched 145 Shahed and decoy drones on Ukraine in overnight attacks, according to Ukraine's Air Force. In the southern city of Mykolaiv, at least 10 people were injured and apartments and belongings were damaged following Russian strikes. The regions targeted include Donetsk, Kharkiv and Kyiv. Meanwhile, the head of the Opishnia community, Mykola Riznik, situated in the Poltava region, said that they came under shelling, injuring one person and causing damage to the town. Ukraine said it had shot down 85 drones, while 49 went off radar. According to the Institute for the Study of War, Ukrainian General Alexander Syrsky confirmed intensified Russian attacks across all main fronts, including new offensives in the eastern Sumy and Kharkiv regions.
EU and Ukrainian leaders are meeting in Brussels for a two-day business summit. The focus is on deepening economic ties and speeding up Ukraine's recovery and path towards EU membership. Ukraine's Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal urged European businesses to invest now, calling for Kyiv's integration into the bloc to be fast-tracked.
We are not a buffer zone, we are not a grey area, we are Europe's new opportunity to rediscover its identity. We are ready to become a new contributor and exporter of security, energy, critical resources and digital innovations. Accelerating Ukraine's EU accession is not just a gesture of solidarity, it is an investment in Europe's strength. We call on European leaders to fast-track Ukraine's integration and shorten our path to full membership.
Poland's European Affairs Minister declared it a historic opportunity, arguing the EU's focus must shift from Russia first to Ukraine now. Italy also voiced strong support for Ukraine's full membership, while also stressing the need for continued reforms. Euronews asked the European Commissioner for Enlargement if the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is right when he claims Ukraine's membership would completely destroy the European market, dry out cohesion funds and harm Hungary.
he's not right. Because we will have Ukraine as one of the members of the EU in the future. We are working on this 26 EU member states support this vision. We could end all the screening processes in this year, so we will be ready when the Council will be able to bring the conclusion to open all the clusters. I am sure that this will be able in this year. But of course, we have to work also with Hungary.
Kyiv believes that as Europe is searching for a new point of equilibrium on geopolitical security, economics and values, the result of the war for Ukraine will be crucial for the continent's future.
Iceland is warming to the idea of EU membership amidst the geopolitical tensions of late. A recent poll showing 45% support membership as Iceland's Prime Minister Frostadetir discusses the issue of an EU referendum slated for 2027 in an interview with Euronews. Her biggest concern is that the debate remains polarized as she seeks to have a balanced discussion about EU membership.
The EU isn't a defense alliance in and of itself, even though it's building itself up. We should join the EU as part of a broader picture. I don't want to drive our EU accession talks based on fear. I don't want it based on this is the only possibility we have. This is the only way forward for Iceland. This is the only way to progress. I think that's going to lead to a polarizing debate.
Iceland has important bilateral relations with the United States, but the Prime Minister remains firmly behind Europe, believing a stronger Europe means a stronger ally for the U.S.
It's very important for us that any security engagement, any sort of change in that relationship doesn't mean that it's excluding the U.S., but that it's maybe changing the relationship between the two, because Iceland really thrives on that transatlantic unity being in place.
In light of the 10% tariffs announced by Trump last week, Iceland has decided not to impose counter tariffs on the U.S., choosing to negotiate rather than escalate.
We are not going to respond with our own tariffs. I mean, we believe in free trade. We're a small economy. Our strength in that sense is more how we negotiate our way through those tariffs, but also how we engage with other countries. So we won't be engaging in counter tariffs. We have to be focused.
Watch the full interview on the Europe Conversation this weekend.
Without them, no parish would function, and yet they still have no say or access to any leadership positions. Now, for the first time, Catholic women are going on strike. That's the case of Mathilde, a lawyer based in Paris.
L'idée, c'est vraiment de manifester en fait, dans ce temps du carême, pendant ces 40 jours du carême, de manifester une incompréhension réelle quant à la place des femmes aujourd'hui dans l'Église. Moi, au début, j'avais décidé notamment de ne plus aller à l'Église du tout. Et puis là, j'ai un petit peu changé d'avis. J'ai plutôt préféré porter mon badge et aller à l'Église en portant mon badge pour essayer d'entraîner des discussions, de faire en sorte qu'on puisse en parler avec les gens que ça interroge.
Until April 17th, Catholic women across France and beyond are protesting to demand equality and greater influence within the church. The movement is led in France by the Comité de la Jupe, the skirt committee, which says women do 80% of the essential work in parishes.
À côté de cette gouvernance strictement masculine, vous avez une réalité de terrain où les femmes, en fait, sont partout. Les églises sont remplies de femmes, que ce soit les paroissiennes, les bénévoles, dans les paroisses, dans les associations, dans le social, dans le care. Elles sont partout, mais elles ont ce plafond de verre qui font qu'elles ne peuvent pas accéder à certaines responsabilités.
The strike is also meant to force bishops to listen. So far, there's been little to no official dialogue. But some inside the church are starting to speak up.
Souvent, quand je discute de ces choses-là, c'est compliqué. C'est compliqué parce qu'il n'y a pas l'habitude et qu'il y a la peur de perdre du pouvoir. Et c'est compliqué parce que les avis sont très partagés. comme dans la société, les prêtres sont en général désireux qu'hommes et femmes puissent travailler ensemble. Après, il y a quelquefois la peur par rapport à ce qui ressemble à du pouvoir.
The movement is gaining traction worldwide, with strikes reported in the US, India, Poland, and Spain. In France alone, the Skirt Committee says its membership has grown to over 300 members. As Catholic women are raising their voices, this time they're not just asking to be heard, they're demanding real change.
The death toll after a roof collapsed at an iconic nightclub in Santo Domingo, the capital of the Dominican Republic, surged to 184 late Wednesday. Earlier on Wednesday, officials read out the names of 54 victims they had identified so far, including merengue icon Ruby Perez, who had been singing to the crowd before the tragedy struck. Other victims included 2 baseball players and a governor of the Northwestern region. A group from the town of Haina carried candles and sang religious hymns in a small memorial for the 25 victims from their hometown. Meanwhile, the government announced Wednesday evening it was moving to a recovery phase focused on finding bodies after 145 people were rescued from the wreckage of the nightclub. The legendary club was packed with musicians, professional athletes, and government officials when dust began falling from the ceiling and into people's drinks early Tuesday. It wasn't immediately clear what caused the roof to collapse.